Okay, I know for a matter of fact that someone in your life has done something to you that has caused you to have to forgive them. I just know it for a fact. And I urge you, I hope this is a friendly reminder, but I urge you, forgive them. Jesus doesn't tell us to just forgive because he wants someone to walk all over your life and just ruin everything. That's not what Jesus is looking for. That's not why he tells you to forgive. He tells you to forgive because he forgave you of a way greater debt than whatever this person did. And I can give you a specific story, Matthew 18:21 through 35. And actually I'm going to start at 23 because, well, just stick with me here for a moment. Therefore, the kingdom of heaven is like a king who wanted to settle accounts with his servants. As he began the settlement, a man who owed him 10,000 bags of gold was brought to him. Since he was not able to pay, the master ordered he and his wife and his children and all that he had to be sold to repay the debt. At this, the servant fell on his knees before him. Be patient, he begged, and I will pay back everything. The servant's master took pity on him, canceled the debt, and let him go. But when the servant went out, he found one of his fellow servants who owed him 100 silver coins. So, like 1,000th of, or 1/10,000th of the debt. He grabbed him and began to choke him. Pay back what you owe me, he demanded. His fellow servant fell on his knees and begged him, be patient with me and I will pay it back. But he refused. Instead, he went off and had the man thrown into prison until he could pay the debt. But when the other servants saw what had happened, they were outraged and went and told their master everything that had happened. And long story short, for Matthew 18:32 through 34, the master is brought back. Come on, why did you do that? Is essentially what the king says. Well, not as nice, but why did you do that? I forgave you of a way greater debt, like 1/10,000th of the debt that like 10,000 times the debt that you owed me. You couldn't even forgive a brother. And so the reason why Jesus tells us to forgive is because, and forgive infinitely, 70 times 7, which is, to my understanding, like the number of infinity. Anyways, forgive infinitely because Jesus forgave you of a way greater debt. One millionth in comparison to whatever this person did, whether you've been falsely accused, beat up, whatever else has happened in your life, it is 1 millionth in percentage a comparison to whatever this person did to you. Now, that doesn't mean, like I said, that doesn't mean you give them the same access to your life. That doesn't mean that, I'm trying to be as broad as possible, but let's say, you had an abusive abusive spouse. That doesn't mean you let them back in the house to beat you up. Or you have a friend who talks behind your back. That doesn't mean that you're going to tell them all your secrets still because you're oblivious and gullible. No, that means that you're just not going to tell them stuff anymore, and that doesn't mean you have to continue, being buddy buddy. But that also means that behind their back, you're not going to talk bad about them. You're not going to curse them. You're going to pray about them. You're going to hope for them to be better, but that doesn't mean that you have to be in their life. And there's many interpretations in terms of like, should you let them back in your life? To my understanding, and I would love correction in the comments, because at the end of the day, I'm not perfect, but to my understanding, you shouldn't give them the same access, though you have forgiven them. Like, going back to the friend example, you shouldn't give that friend access to your secrets anymore because now there's no trust there. So, similarly, when you forgive someone, you want to forgive them and you want to remove that bitterness out of your heart. I don't know a single person, personally, I don't know a single person who has held a grudge for a very long time and is not utterly miserable. And there's actually a study from a scientist called Michael Berry called the Forgiveness Project, which essentially found a link between grudges and uncurable cancer. Like grudges, like holding this long-term bitterness in your heart with an uncurable cancer that happens at some point. Because when you have this anxiety, you have this bitterness and rottenness in your heart, like it's going to ruin you at some point. And it has utterly no benefit to you to hold a grudge because realistically, what is the benefit? You feel like they owe you a sorry. You feel like they owe you something. But you're going to, like, for example, people who need closure after a relationship. It's like you don't need closure. You got your closure. You understand that this person doesn't like you, you don't need to sit around for them to say sorry. You need to forgive them and move on because Jesus forgave you of 1 million times in an uncomparable amount of debt compared to whatever this person did. Like I said, I've had personal situations where it was hard to forgive at the start, but you must forgive, not seek vengeance, not have this bitterness in your heart because it has net zero benefit to you. If you just move on with your life and say, you know what, Jesus, I'm going to focus on you, God. I'm going to focus on you. You take me where you want me to go. You continue to have your way in my life and do whatever you want with my life and however works best for your kingdom. Just move on. And I know it's very hard to say. I know it's very hard to say. Way easier said than done. But if you fully understand and fully are forgiven, you don't have to feel forgiven. You have to know you're forgiven. It's a different video I made called Christian Confidence. You have to fully be confident in what has been written in the Word. And so that doesn't mean you have to feel forgiven. You have to know you're forgiven. And so if you know you're forgiven, you should forgive as well. Because you have been, like in that story, you've been forgiven of 1 million bags of gold, and this person has taken one gold coin out of your day. And you have to just say, you know what? I've been forgiven of way greater than that. So it's okay. I'm going to forgive you too now. Like I said, doesn't mean you let them back in your life. Doesn't mean you let that abusive spouse back in your life, or that friend who's going to tell your secrets or whatever. Doesn't mean you let them back in your life, but you should let go. You should let go. I think that's just the best way I could get it across, and I urge you. I don't know how else to get it to you. You should let go, and it's not as easy as said as done, and it's not a process of forgiveness like one time. You're not going to say, you know what, I forgive this person. We're done. We're done being bitter about it. It's not a one-time thing. It's going to come back to your mind. You're going to be like, oh, what, that one time that this happened, it's going to come back, and you have to re-forgive them. You have to say, you know what, I forgive this person. You have to redo it. And it's a continual process of forgiveness because it's probably going to come back to your mind. The devil's going to remind you of that one time that this person did this and how bad you felt and how humiliated you were. But you need to re-forgive them. And so I urge you, with the urgency of the Bible, with the reminder that you've been forgiven of way greater, please forgive because you have been forgiven of way more. And there's net zero benefit to holding a grudge. I don't know. I couldn't name one benefit, and I urge you, if you can think of a one benefit, drop a comment. Drop that reason why holding a grudge your whole life is going to benefit you. And that doesn't mean avoiding them. You can forgive them and not talk to them. You can forgive them and say, you know what, I'm going to move on with my life. I'm not going to worry about this person. I'm not going to give this person the same access they had before. So I urge you, drop one reason in the comments why holding that grudge that you currently have, you may have had, is going to possibly benefit your life. Please let me know.